Hey everyone, I'm Joe Ferzoco.
I'm Chris Ferzoco. Today we're talking market statistics, as we like to do here at the Ferzoco Group, and we're going to be looking at the second half of 2024 versus the first half of 24.
That's wonderful. Hey, and if you like what you hear, like what you see here, please subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications, and hit that like button. You'll be the first to get the most up-to-date market information, happenings down here at the Jersey Shore. No, not that Jersey Shore, our Jersey Shore. Ventnor, Margate, Longport, Ocean City, Summers Point, Strathmere, Sea Isle, Stone Harbor, Avalon, North Wildwood, Wildwood Crest, West Wildwood, Diamond Beach, Cape May, North Cape May Courthouse, and Upper Township. If I left you out, I'm sorry about that. But yes, so we're going to be looking at market statistics here, first half of 2024 compared to the second half of 2024. And Chris, what's that going to entail a little bit, and then you can get us started.
So we're going to be looking at all properties, Joe, that were on the multiple listing service. So that means whether it's a single family home, a townhouse, a condo, an efficiency, a bayfront, a beachfront, commercial, or even a vacant lot, if it was on the multiple listing service, we are counting that statistic. And we're going to start off in Ocean City. We're going to look at the average sale price of all these properties. We're going to look at the number of properties that came on the market. We're going to look at the number of properties that sold, and we're going to look at the number of the actual sale price versus the overall list price of all these properties as well. So in Ocean City, looking at the second half, we actually saw an 8.5% decrease in the overall value of property. We actually went from 1.29 down to 1.18. So just a slight decrease there, about 8.5%. So still over that $1 million mark, which is always a good thing. So we're going to continue, obviously, to monitor that, though, for the second half of the year, which was interesting because we do have a bump when you get into that August, September, October timeline. So a little surprising there that it was at 8.5%. So we'll continue to monitor that now that we're heading into the new year. As for the number of properties that actually sold, we actually had an 8% decrease. We went from 633 down to 583 in the second half of the year. And for the number of properties that came on the market, we actually had an increase in Ocean City. We actually went from 273 up to 299, Joe. So we actually saw about a 9.5% increase there. And one of the only towns that I'm going to be talking about today that actually had an increase in inventory over that timeline that we'll be looking at. As for the overall sales price versus list price, virtually the exact same at 96.5%. And now moving down into Sea Isle City. Sea Isle City actually had a significant drop. It actually dropped 11.5% in the overall value. It went from 1.7 down to 1.5. So again, it is a drop in 11.5%. That's a pretty significant drop there in Sea Isle for the second half of the year. Going to monitor that. There could be a lot of different reasons. A lot of new construction in Sea Isle. Maybe it's that. But that's something we're going to have to monitor there. You start talking about numbers 8.5, 11.5, 9.5. Those are numbers we need to start paying attention to when you start looking at value dropping.
Yeah.
As for the number of homes that actually sold, we saw a 24.5% decrease in Sea Isle. We had 86 sell in the first half. We only had 65 sell in the second half. So that's a pretty significant drop at 24.5%. As for the number of homes that came on the market, we were plus one. 94 came on the market in the first half of the year. 95 came on the market in the second half of the year. So that actually is a good sign there for Sea Isle, that the same amount coming on the market, even though you had a significant drop in the number of properties that sold. So that means that Sea Isle might start to creep up in the number of inventory. We're going to have to monitor that. We'll check that out. It's tough right now as we're shooting this video because the year just turned over and we actually had a lot of homes come off the market as it does every year.
Yeah.
As for the overall sales value, we actually did jump up to 98% from 96 in the second half of the year. So some interesting stats, Joe, just starting off on those two areas alone, just kind of a little bit of like, okay, things that we need to be paying attention to.
Sure thing. And there are some big differences in the first half to the second half as we move down the Parkway down into the Wildwoods, for instance. So the second half of the year, we saw a 1% increase in your average sale price, right around $644,000 was your average sale price for the second half of 2024. Number of properties that sold, same as the first 6 months of the year. We had about 123 properties sell. Properties that came onto the market, actually there was a drop. We had about only 185 properties coming onto the market in North Wildwood, which was about a 17% decrease in the second half of the year. And as far as your list price to sale price, the second half of the year was at 96%. The first half of the year was at 97%, so something to keep an eye on there. Wildwood, the second half of the year, saw a 9% increase in your average sale price to $585,000. Number of properties that sold, there was a 31% decrease. We only had 83 properties sell in Wildwood. in the second half of the year. And as far as the number of properties that came on the market in Wildwood, there was a 10% decrease the second half of the year. It was only 149 that came onto the market. And of course, your list price to sale price was right around the same, right around 98, 99% for both halves of the year. Moving into the Crest, we had a 5% increase at 747,000 was your average sale price in the second half of 2024. The number of properties that sold, that was also a decrease. We only had 83 properties sell in the second half of the year. And the number of properties that came on the market, another decrease. We only had 98 properties come on the market in the second half of the year, which was about a 23% decrease. And your list price to sale price was running right around 97% for both first and second half of 2024. When you go into the Diamond Beach, Sea Point Village area, your average sale price was up about 4% to $929,000. We only had 19 properties sell in the second half of the year. We had about 19 sell in the first half of 2024. So pretty identical there. We did have a 38% decrease in the inventory levels of properties that came on the market. We only had 21 come on the second half of the year. And your list price to sale price running right around 98%. Actually had a 100% list price to sale price in the first half of 2024, 96% in the second half. So average out for about 97, 98% there. And finally in Cape May, we did see an increase in your average sale price, about 1.47 million in the second half of 2024. The number of properties that came on the market, one of the few areas, it was a 40% increase up to 52 properties that came on the, actually 40% increase in the amount of properties that sold. So we had 52 properties sell in the second half of the year, which was, that's a big difference, 40%, more properties sold in the second half of the year. As far as the number of properties that came on the market, pretty flat, the same as the first half of the year, had about 60 properties coming onto the market in the second half of the year. So
those are good
Chris,
numbers.
They're pretty good.
Good numbers coming out.
Yep, absolutely. So let's get us offshore a little bit too.
Yeah, and going offshore here, Joe, we're going to look at Upper Township. We actually saw a 35% increase in the second half of the year in the overall value. We actually went from 497 to 670,000. So we actually nice jump there in Upper Township. The number of properties that actually sold were again down 22%. We went from 117 down to 91 in the second half of the year. And for the number of properties that came on the market, we had a 30% decrease. It was 79 in the first half, down to 55 in the second half.
Sure.
So again, right, just following that same vein, if you will, of just negative, or decreases, I should say, not decreases in the overall properties coming on the market and selling, for that matter. As for the overall sales price to list price, actually dropped from 96 to 94%, so we had a little bit of a decrease there. So although you did bump up your overall list price, the overall value, I should say, the sale price to list price did drop 2%.
Gotcha.
In Summers Point, we actually saw a 6.5% increase in the overall value. We actually went from 441 to 470, so a little bit of a bump there. And we also saw a decrease of 6.5% in the number of properties that sold. So we actually were at 133 in the first half to 124 in the second half. And for the number of properties that came on the market, we went from 79 down to 62, Joe. It's a 21.5% drop. So a pretty significant drop there in the number of properties that came on the market for Summers Point. And the overall sales value to list price was identical at 96.5%. So, just kind of both of the primary home markets saw their values increase.
Yeah.
But again, the number of sales dropped and the number of homes coming on the market, both areas dropped significantly for the second half.
Sure thing for that one there.
Yep.
And so we're going to stay offshore a little bit here too, Chris. So we're in the North Cape May area. We had a 20% increase in your average sale price the second half of the year to 665,000. The number of properties that sold dropped about 22%. We had about 50 properties close in North Cape May in the second half of 2024. And the number of properties that came onto the market, that was also a drop of just about 9%. We only had 60 homes, 60 total properties come on the market in North Cape May for the second half of the year in 2024. And again, first half, second half, running right around 97% list price to sale price. And Cape May Courthouse, you had a nice increase the second half of the year, 16% increase in your average sale price to about $488,000. Number of properties that sold, that was also an increase of about 29%. We had 92 properties close out and sell in the second half of 2024. And as far as the inventory levels, Chris, it was pretty flat. Had 129 properties come onto the market in the second half of the year compared to the first half of the year. And your list price to sale price was running right around 97% in the Cape May Courthouse area. One thing you kind of start to see, Chris, here that you're kind of piecing together is, the first half of the year was definitely stronger when it came to the number of properties that came onto the market. At least down in the southern half of the Cape May, in the Wildwoods, Cape May, North Cape May Courthouse. The first half of 2024, there was more properties coming onto the market as opposed to the second half of the year, where you just go through those numbers right now, and every place was, was a decrease in the number of properties coming on, decrease in the number of properties coming on. Number of properties selling, that was, some places was the same, some places was an increase, some places was a decrease. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens as we go into 2025, and let's see what the first half, so January to June, looks like when you start looking at, maybe what we'll do is we'll go back and look at the numbers for the second half of 2024 and say, all right, 185 properties listed in North Wildwood the second half of the year. How many come on the first half of 2025? And always do a comparison that way, not so much the year before, but take the next 6 months and just kind of piggyback each 6 months on something like that.
Yeah, and I think what's important to remember, you said it, that the first half was stronger. There's a lot going on this year in the second half. Remember, we did have the election.
Yeah, that's true.
No matter what you said, there was uncertainty going into the election.
Yeah.
A lot of people were, nervous on both sides, whatever.
Yeah.
So you have the uncertainty with the election, and then you right boom behind that, you have the holidays.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, you got Hanukkah, you got Christmas, New Year's. You got boom, 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 boom. So I think a lot of people, almost out of fatigue, it may have just decided, I'm just not going to do anything real estate wise, because they just needed a break. They needed to see, how is this all going to unfold? What is this going to look like?
Yeah.
Again, for us down here at the shore, these are second homes. These are investment properties. Maybe a lot of people just said, hey, look, I got to wait to see how this is all going to unfold. Then we saw how it unfolded. Then it was the holidays, and people were just kind of like taking a breath and see what happens. So I think it's a great idea that we compare the first 6 months to the last 6 months to see what that looks like. Because I'm hoping that a lot of it's just more fatigue versus just the market having a lot of these these negative months here that we just saw.
Very valid.
Hopefully that's going to kind of balance itself out and maybe get a shot in the arm now that there's more certainty as to where the direction we're going in, whether you're on board with that or not. We know our direction as a country, and so they're talking directions with rates. So we kind of can see a little bit more of a path forward. How is that going to start to reveal itself there in the first half of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird because you look at, all right, so you have a limited number of properties coming on the market. And then you look at, so the southern half of the county, second half of the year, the average sale price in every single town, all the Wildwoods, Cape May, North Cape May Courthouse, average sale price was up.
Right.
Compared to the first half. But yet the number of properties that came on the market, it was all down.
Yep.
So that kind of depends on what you're looking for. Hey, average sale price is up, fantastic. If as a seller, but then if as a buyer, you're looking at it and you're saying, man, it's just the properties come on the market. I got to make sure if it's getting all my needs and wants in there, I got to move on that. I got to jump on that. And that's really important. We talk about this a little bit, with all the videos too. When Chris talks about what's going on in your town or your neck of the woods, and what's going on down here at the shore. If you're looking to sell and you want a little bit more of a an in-depth, more focused market analysis, equity evaluation on your property, reach out, give us a call, shoot us a text or an email. We'll put together that market analysis. We'll put together a comprehensive, marketing and advertising campaign for your specific property to get you sold at the highest dollar amount in the fastest amount of time. If you're a buyer looking to purchase a property, we'll put you in touch with one of our great agents here at the Ferzoco Group on our real estate team here, and make sure that all of your needs and wants are front and center when it comes to properties that are hitting the market. They're on the top of mind of our agents that you're working with, that you're entrusting to find you that perfect shore property. And we'll make sure that we match the two of you up together, get you out, get you into the properties. And sometimes it's even a video of that property to make sure that you're getting what you want down here at the shore. So again, we're going to be doing some more videos with the market stats. We've got some year-end stats. We've got some quarterly stats and things like that to take a look at. So stay tuned for more of that. So for now, he's Chris. I'm Joe. We'll see you at the beach.